Hey, this is Soldier7 here reporting for Right Wing Federation. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how it's been 1 year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, which is good for the most part, given what the 2024 election offered us. As far as I'm concerned, he was the best choice, and that's what we got. And a lot of people across the United States of America felt the same way. Now, just to do a quick review over 1 year since he returned to the White House after not being there for 4 years, from 2021, from January 20th, 2021 to January 20th, 2025. He was out of the picture, and now he's back, and it's been a year now. So, just to review the first year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, all I gotta say is, while I do not agree with everything that he has been doing, but for the most part, some of the ideas that he's been pushing, some of the ideas he's been advocating for, some of the stuff he's been trying to do, for the most part, I would say at least a good 70 to 80%. I totally approve, but that's just my opinion. I know there's other stuff that can be talked about, and there are certain things about his policies during this term that I do find concerning, and some people are already saying, is that going to determine what the U.S. elections are going to be like in November? Because, as you know, this year in November, it'll be the midterm elections, along with the country's gubernatorial elections, which is held every year, but the majority of them are held at around this time, the same time as the midterms. So this is something worth talking about, I guess, in another video. I don't know, but yeah. But then again, this is January, so the next elections are not to November, so we don't know. Some people are saying the Democrats are going to take the House or whatnot, and then you got some people saying that some of Trump's policies may brush that off. And as we know, it's often said that and I may do a video on this later on in the year, maybe, about the U.S. elections coming up in November. But some people intend to say that the party in the White House is the one that doesn't really get the benefits of the U.S. midterm elections, at least when it comes to the Congress and Senate or so forth. And for the most part, that has been true. In many cases, that has been true, but there has been some cases where it hasn't. Well, the latest I can think of was in 2002, where there was a bit of a shift, but not a large one. And not to mention the last few midterms, the last few of them, where the party does take during Donald Trump's first term, the Democrats got Congress, but the Republicans maintained the Senate, and it wasn't like a blue wave like some people promoted it like it was going to be. It ended up just being more of a blue tilt in Congress. Same thing with the Republicans. The Republicans were able to do the same thing in 2022. But as to determine what this year's elections are going to be like, I don't know. Some people are saying some of Trump's policies are a bit of a gamble and they could determine November. Well, maybe. And as you know, like I said, sometimes it's the other party that intends to benefit in the midterms, whereas it's often very rare where the party in the White House intends to win more. But also keep in mind, and like I said, I know it sounds like I'm already doing a video about this when this is supposed to be about a year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, but I'll just go ahead and quickly say it. people also seem to forget that the majority of the country's gubernatorial elections are held at the same time as the midterms. Yeah, there are gubernatorial elections held each year. Like last year, it was New Jersey and Virginia. And then this year, it'll be pretty much the majority of the country. And then next year, it'll be Louisiana, Mississippi, and Kentucky. And then, of course, even during the presidential election, there are a couple states, at least, there are a couple of states like Washington and Utah, Montana, Missouri, Indiana, and so forth, and a few other states that also have gubernatorial elections held at that time as well. So I don't want to predict anything about this year's U.S. elections, but some people are saying that some of Trump's policies are a bit of a gamble and they could hurt or even maybe benefit him in this November, or the party or whatever. I don't know. Now, granted, I'm not a Republican. Just because this channel is called Right Wing Federation, that doesn't mean I just automatically, vote Republican or encourage people to swing Republican. But given the two major parties, it kind of makes a little more sense, because the Democrat Party has a socialist faction, and I don't see myself being too key on voting for guys like that. I mean, if the Blue Dog Coalition was still around, maybe I would be more open-minded, but if you're just going to keep having a socialist faction take over the Democrat Party, forget it. Like, I would just rather take my chances with the GOP, obviously, and if not, then I'll, depending on how bad the GOP can be, sometimes there are days where I just feel like taking my chances with third parties or independents, but I don't know. But given that the socialist faction has taken more advantage, seemed to gain some sort of ground in the Democrat Party, I just don't. Yeah, that just gives me more of a reason not to want to vote for them. Maybe if there was more of the Blue Dog Coalition, I would be more open-minded, but yeah, I already did my thinking, and having a socialist faction in the Democrat Party is like, yeah, no thank you, don't want it. But sorry, not to get on a rant. I'm trying to stay on topic. I just want to say, yes, it's been 1 year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, and even though there are certain things I don't agree with that he's done or is trying to do, granted, there are some flaws. There are certain people in his cabinet and administration I'm very skeptical of. But being that said, I would say for the most part, I approve of some of the things that he's done. I think, yes, his first year, I guess that's what you want to call it, since he took office a year ago. I think most of his policies have been good. Some of them, yes, I am a little curious about, as in being skeptical of. But other than that, yeah, I think it's so far it's been. I think most of his policies have been good. Even if they haven't, one thing I can say, they have been better than Joe Biden's, and I will say this, I hope the 4 years of Joe Biden is a 4 years I never have to see again under any president, period. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on that, even if you're not on the right, or even if you're not on the right, you may be on the left or in the center, and you may say, yeah, the Biden years were really not that great, and let's hope we never relive that again. Let's hope let's hope modern day America never knows what it was like to live in the 1930s during the Depression, which was kind of the fear I had if Kamala got elected in 24. But other than that, I'm kind of going on to a bit of a rant. I don't want to keep this going too long, but yes, it's been a year since Trump returned to the White House. And while I don't agree with all of his policies, and even though I may be skeptical of some of them, but as right now, I have to say, for the most part, at least 80%, I approve. Okay? And this video is going on a little bit too long, so yeah, I'll probably, there's more I want to say, but I don't really want to go on a rant. Other than hopefully things do get better, and as for the elections in November, hopefully they turn out for the best, and yeah, I know it almost sounds like I'm making more of a video about that right now. It's just that I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that, is the GOP, is Trump and the GOP, are they going to be hurt by the elections in November? Or some of his policies, are they going to be benefited? Could they, if not win more seats in the Congress or Senate, could they at least stop a blue wave or a blue tilt? Well, I mean, that's what most people think about, but I also think it's important to think about how the majority of the country's gubernatorial elections are held at the same time. But like I said, I'm kind of going on for too long. 1 year since Donald Trump returned to the White House, and I have to say, there's still some policies that I don't agree with, and I am also skeptical of, whereas I'm not sure. But for the most part, at least 80% maybe, or 70% at lowest, I would say I approve. So far, he's doing good. I'm seeing certain benefits, like gas prices have somewhat go down and so forth, and certain things at the supermarket. So things like that do seem to be getting better. And a couple other things I will name, but I don't want to make this video too long. So I'm just going to say, 1 year into Donald Trump's second term, I have to say, despite my concerns, I approve. Anyway, you have any other opinions, do tell. That's all. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say for right now. This is Soldier 7. Thanks for listening.